Thank you, Paul, for inviting me, and Davina. We definitely look forward to presenting this. As I think this tool will greatly help and assist your profession and your business, and actually it makes our lives easier too, because these are there's a lot of information that typically our staff can answer, but if it's at your fingertips, then it's going to save a lot of time. So I want to go over our website and our portal, and then I will turn it over to Amina Newsome, who's here with me today, to talk a little bit about our zoning verification letters and what we can offer you with a formal analysis on a property, whether it's a simplistic analysis or even a complex analysis. We do have expedite processes as well. And those letters are binding letters that will give you some security when you want to know specific information on a property and you're doing your due diligence. So let me share my screen. Let's see. And I think I'm up. Can everybody see my screen?
Looks good.
All right, perfect. So I'm going to start on the Miami-Dade zoning website. And if you simply go into Google and put Miami-Dade County, make sure you put county, Miami-Dade County zoning, you'll pop up on this screen. And again, there's a wealth of information here, but I'm going to concentrate on just this one link, which is right here, zoning hearing records. That takes you into our zoning management tool, which you can search quite a bit of information. So I'll go into that. Now it works better on Chrome. Internet Explorer it's had some trouble with, so try to do this on Chrome. So when you go into that link, it will pop up your zoning map, similar to what Felipe did with his Gridix with Miami. Some similarities where it's parcel based, and the information is generally geared for unincorporated Miami-Dade County. Although we do have some zoning records in the cities, and we do have some overlapping zoning that the county is responsible for, such as our rapid transit centers. Most of this information is for unincorporated Miami-Dade County. We do have some tools that you can research some basic zoning information in the cities, but again, it's geared to the county. So this is again, it's a GIS based, and we've pulled really the important data or the simplistic data from our larger GIS software. We do have other GIS maps, which has just a ton of information over and above this, but basically this is geared to land use and zoning. So it's divided up into the tabs. You see here on the top, we have zoning records, which is primarily a tool to search for zoning hearings or past zoning hearings. We then have our zoning tab, which when populated, graphically represents all the zoning in unincorporated Miami-Dade County. The next tab, Cdnp, which is our Comprehensive Development Master Plan. This is our future land use category. This does show for the entire county. Again, land use information in the cities, although the county does have a land use plan for the entire county, the cities, you should not rely on county information. Although it is technically accurate on our part, the individual cities do their own land use. We then have a tab called Urban Centers, which is kind of the county's parallel zoning districts, which have our higher intensity mixed use development, which have been adopted throughout the county. And you'll see they're limited throughout the county from and generally around our transit lines. So you'll see those get into a little more specifics with regards to some of the zoning data that similar to the Gridix, where you had a little more of your density, height, and some of your massing characteristics, not to that level of detail. But for these are all not overlays, but they're very specific type districts that have very prescribed zoning characteristics. We do have some other tabs. We have, and I'm going to skip the group homes, but you can search for location of group homes. You know, the state and the city have minimum spacing requirements, and these are group homes for you know, up to 6 residents within a single family home or duplex home. Again, I don't think you deal with that as much, but if somebody's interested in placing a group home, they can look at some of the spacing to see if a potential location is within a radius. We do have transportation data. These are a combination of you know, various points that have data information with regards to trip counts for certain links and intersections. This, again, when looking at potential development and your traffic engineer is starting to prepare a study, this is open information. And again, our last tab, which is our most recent, is Miami-Dade Aviation. This was an ordinance we recently adopted that completely modified the entire chapter on aviation. So each section, again, has various height limitations and use limitations, and this can be searched. So those are your main tabs. Again, that will get you to the information that you're looking for, but that's just, again, the beginning of this. So I'm going to start with, I was going to go into a specific, let's take the mall, the mega mall. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to zoning. And you can see each zoning district has their own respective color and then the terminology that's referenced in it. So if you click on that parcel, it's a left click. They'll tell you the zone, they'll give you a description of it. And anytime you click on a parcel, this pop-up comes up, and this pop-up allows you to toggle through a wealth of information. And that is always with this arrow that you're going to see, or this triangle. So in this case here, with regards just to the zoning, we know that it's zone red pad. We have the zip. We have the municipality, in this case, unincorporated Miami-Dade County. We have the owner. We also link directly to the property appraiser's office. So if you click on this, it will get you to that property appraiser's information. That's it. That's all that tells you on the zoning. Now, in the zoning records, if you want to know what's on that property, so on the zoning record tab, you have multiple ways, and I'm going to bring it back from this individual parcel first. If you know what the folio is, you can search by folio, you can search by an applicant name, by a resolution number. You could, if you know the process number, which is the actual application number, all those fields, or your address, all those fields can be searched. And so whenever you get into the zoning records and you already know a piece of information that can get you to an individual parcel that you're interested in, either you stick in the address or the folio, or you're going into this advanced search and putting in that field and then clicking search, and it will take you directly to that parcel. In this instance, I'm going to take you to back to the mall parcel to give you an example. So on the zoning record, we've got 7 fields. So there's a lot more information and there's a greater history. So toggling through that, we see that now we're getting into the various applications that have been submitted. So we've got here a pre-application. We have a CDMP amendment. again, you click on the link and it's going to take you directly to that comp plan application and the entire file. I'm going to take you though, I think, to the zoning. So we got here a zoning file. We have a zoning verification letter. So the county did opine on a question. Again, every time we opine on any question on any parcel within the county, all of our zoning verifications are available to read. So if you're searching for a parcel and you happen to find an old zoning verification letter, use it, because there's going to be some information in there that you could take advantage of. So this here is the zoning application for the mall. So I'm going to click on that link. And again, every parcel that has a zoning application will have some link. Now that's taking you to the electronic file. This is a carbon copy of the hard file. Again, this is geared really for the applicant to use and for staff to use as part of managing a hearing application. So where this becomes an extremely valuable tool is in the attachments. And that's really where you want to go to. This is every single document that's been associated with this project. Most of this stuff is technical. A lot of it is inconsequential to the final outcome of it. So what I recommend everybody to do as soon as you get into an application is click on the creation date. It's going to sort it by date chronologically. So you can see this came in 2017. Scroll right to the bottom. So if you've got an approved project, all the good stuff will be closer to the bottom. So in this case here, we've got the resolution, which is the formal board approved resolution. We have the development agreement, which has every detail about their vested rights for this project. In many cases, you'll see a site plan that's associated with it. The last site plan is the one of record. When you click on that resolution, you'll see the request. And typically, again, this is a massive parcel. There'll be conditions. This one doesn't have it, but there's typically conditions in the resolution which specifically outline a site plan, and that site plan is in the file. So that's one way of doing a search. Now, if you're just interested, and I'm gonna take a random parcel here.
And I'm just going to remind everyone, because this is one of those things that you're gonna, you'll be working and you'll go, I forgot how to do this or where this is. We're going to send you a direct link to this video within 24 hours, because there's going to be a time probably when you're going to go, I want to find where those documents are. And, so we're going to send you the video. I just want to remind. The other thing is that Carmen Simon had a great question for me. Maybe even Nathan can help me with this or give me some ideas. But she asked if we could do something like this for Broward or Monroe County. I don't know who the contacts there are, if there's a county contact, but I can get with Nathan afterwards. It would be great if we could do the contiguous counties and even Palm Beach, and so we'll get with him and hopefully there's some contacts there. But just a reminder, we will send you the video on this. Thank you.
So I'm going to pick a parcel that I know here. So I'm going to satisfy all the Belen people in the audience and click on Belen. And this is the Belen parcel. As you can see, it's kind of messy because there's a whole history of approvals. So I'm going to click on one of the parcels, and in this case, you have 13 different files. You have an application Z 2007-0063. So this is a 2007 application. I'm going to click on this one here because you're going to see an interface that looks very different from what I just showed you. And there's a reason why. In 2016, we completely changed this interface that you see here to the one that the one that I just presented. Anything after 2016, when you click on that zoning application, will look like this one here. It's just a different system. We didn't convert all the older ones. So if there's a zoning application, you're probably accustomed to this. If there's a zoning application that is pre-2016, it's going to look like this. And when you get into that file, you're simply going to see a whole list of items. And each item has this kind of I figure. That is a PDF of the document that this is relating to. So this is organized in a very different way. The resolution is usually at the top and not at the bottom. So again, if you want to look at plans, if you want to look at the site plans, you can just simply click on those eyes and it will pull those up. This just happens to be a modification. In fact, this was a deleted application. Get a better one. Let's try this one in 2010. Okay, so this one is in 2010. You'll see the resolution. You can click on the resolution, the staff recommendation that went to the board, the site plan, landscape plans, all the documents are there. So another important thing to do when you're doing your research is never assume every single record is visible from this website. And the reason is we have some documents that go back to the 60s, 50s, that when we converted electronically, it just doesn't show up on this map. And that's due to the technology that was done at the time. So what happened was you'd have a large property, a large folio that eventually got subdivided into 100 different parcels, and it kind of evaporated that polygon showing that there was a hearing. You can still search it if you're looking for the specific hearing, but what I'd like everybody to do and to get into a custom of doing, and it's a little bit tedious, but we have to do the same thing until we figure out how to get everything on this map, is when you're searching for, when you're doing your research, and let's say you pop in the folio number and it comes up to this parcel here, and you search through all of these different fields and you're looking at all the different hearings, there's these two tabs at the bottom, which is the historic zoning maps and the historic zoning resolution log. I always want you to click on those and do a deeper dive to see if there's anything that's buried deep in history on that parcel, just to be 100% sure, because I don't want you to miss anything. Now, most of the pertinent information is current, but there are times where there's some properties that haven't gone through a change for decades, and the information and the approvals and the vested rights that they had from before are still 100% valid. So the first thing to do is you click on the zoning map. You'll get this page here. It's already taking you to the square mile of where that property is located in, and you click on this, click to view map. So you're going to get, again, this antiquated map, and this is where it's going to take a little bit of effort on your part, is you find your parcel in question, and that parcel, if there's no number on it, if there's no circle on it, it's clear. There's nothing else dealing with that parcel. But if you see, for example, a number, in this case, I'll just pick this parcel here. This is 120. There's a file there. Now, there's a good chance that this parcel here was picked up in our new zoning map because it's an individual parcel, and I would think that there's probably an icon there, and it's again, so it's one of those single family homes here. So most likely that's picked up, but double check. So you'll see the number there. From that point, you'll then, on that same map, you'll click on the resolution log, and on the left-hand side, so again, you go to resolution log on that same page that you had that map on. On the left-hand side, you'll see the numbers. You find 120, and they're not necessarily in order. They're categorized by type of application. So if you don't see it in a chronological area, keep on scrolling. This was an administrative adjustment, which is a V. So this is right here. Number 120. This is actually from 1994. Again, it's most likely in our system now, but just as an example, and then that will take you to that application. So again, on the viewer, whenever you get to your parcel in question, use these two tabs to do a little bit of a deeper dive. And again, we'll always help you. You can always contact us on that, but that is going to get you, your additional information. Now, when viewing this data, you're seeing now a figure ground of the buildings, but you can also toggle aerials. So under the layer map, and this is true for any of the different tabs. Under the layer tab, you can scroll to the bottom, you get Miami-Dade imagery. I personally, whenever I go into this, I always go into the imagery, and I like to search this way. I like to see, what the current situation is on the parcel. If you're, let's see here. Let me go back to zoning. If you're interested in knowing what the zoning is in a municipality, you can do that as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on the imagery, and I'm going to go to the zoning. It's already lit up. I click on the zoning, and I already have unincorporated. It's the default. You simply go on to municipal zoning, and boom. So in this case here, this is City of Sweetwater. I toggled it, and now the entire county, all incorporated areas are identified. So if you click on that parcel, it's going to tell you what the city zoning is. Actually, it's going through all the parcels in that zone. Oh, there we go. So RD Sweetwater. Again, we don't know as a county what that means. You're going to have to check with the municipality. Same thing with, well, again, the comprehensive plan is the countywide. Now, one of the newest policies that the county has is our smart corridor. I think, I'm sure most of you have heard about this, but we have the smart plan, which is the 6 corridors. We recently amended the comprehensive plan to add density privileges to the smart corridor. We can identify those on the comprehensive plan map as well. Again, these aren't zoning decisions, but these are indicators that increases in intensity within zoning categories or existing zoning or potential rezonings could occur. So under the Cdnp, when you toggle the layer list, we've got smart plan corridors, and now you're getting the actual corridors, and the smart plan buffer areas. And I'm going to actually take off the actual comp plan just to highlight those. So when it runs through a municipality, at this time now, the municipalities regulate that, but where you see these buffer areas, and I'll take the south corridor, it will show you that prescribed buffer that the board adopted as a matter of policy. So anything that's red which is a quarter mile, is a 60 up to 60 unit per acre, and anything green is up to 36 units per acre. Again, this is just a land use policy that would help support potential rezonings in these areas. So if you have a zoning district and you're within a smart corridor and you're zoned, let's say, some type of low density residential, that doesn't necessarily mean that's all you can do there. There's opportunity to have further discussion with us to see if there's a possibility of a rezoning to a mixed use type of district and add some intensity. Intermittently, you'll see these blue areas. These are our urban centers with much higher density. So we don't want to confuse you. If you fall within a rapid transit zone, but you're in the blue area, that takes you to urban center. So now I'm going to take you to that urban center tab. This is a little more similar to what Felipe showed on the Gridix, because we have such specialized zoning with our urban centers. So as soon as you pop up that tab, you're going to see all the urban centers within the county. These are, again, our charrette areas, our highly intensified areas, mixed use, and a very, very specific form-based code. The very simplistic information is the internal land use category for the parcel you're looking for, the density and the height. So again, you can click in a folio, you can search graphically, you can search by an address, and I'm just going to take a random parcel here. So let's take this parcel here. So that pops up. Again, the pertinent information. This is in the Princeton charrette. It is mixed use Main Street, which is MM. It is in the core subject. So the minimum building height is 3, maximum 15, and 125 units per acre. We don't have more information than this because the uses associated with it, the massing, you're going to have to delve into the actual zoning code for that, as each individual urban center has different characteristics and it's rather complex. There are some similarities to Miami 21. This was actually a somewhat of a precursor to some of those standards, but ideally it's a form-based code with built-to lines. And it's really designed to take advantage of these higher density areas. So that is another tool to really understand what you see within an urban center. And not to be confused, when you click on zoning, and going back to the actual zoning tab, you'll see the urban center. This is the urban center here, but it's only the one color. It's only identifying that you're generally within the urban center, but that doesn't tell you the information that you're looking for each individual parcel. It's simply saying, hey, you're in that urban center. To drill down that very specific, you got to click on that urban center tab. And again, it will go through, each parcel will tell you the corresponding density, the height, and the internal land use. Let's see.
We have a bunch of questions.
Sure.
So I think maybe now is a good time to ask a few of them. Maxim is asking about if there's a land assemblage, let's say 6 lots or 5 lots, as far as the way it's recorded, is there a master of, or do you have to look, how would you find information to find out about an assemblage? As far as, is there a specific one document? What would you recommend? Or would they, to show that the parcels are connected?
That's going to be more of a, well, it depends. If it's a legal assemblage, so if you have multiple legal lots of record, so let's say you have 6 platted lots that are under one ownership. It's not really an assemblage yet. It's just 6 parcels that are owned by one property owner. If the property owner intends on developing that as one single development site, then there could be what we call as a waiver of plat or a plat, and they'll just simply combine those folios and they'll replat the parcel, and then it's just simply one parcel. So it's no longer an assemblage, it's just one parcel. Now, in many cases, you'll take 6 of those individual lots, and in order to develop on all of them, and you want to maintain those 6 folios, let's say, you'd have something called, you'd have a unity of title. And that unity of title basically says, we're going to be blind to those internal lot lines, and we're going to use all these 6 lots as one building site as an assemblage. That unity of title agreement gets signed and review, well, it's signed by the property owner, it's reviewed by the county if it's unincorporated, and that gets recorded in the property appraisers. Sorry, recorded in the clerk of the courts. So that's a document that's going to have to be researched through the clerk of the courts. In some cases, you have what we call a covenant in lieu of unity of title, which is a covenant that you can find on our website. So if you're searching for the zoning information, there are many times a covenant. Now, a lot of those covenants or declarations of restrictions or declaration in lieu, they're typically dealing with some zoning characteristic that needs to be maintained. But again, that's going to be another search in the property appraisers, the clerk of the court. And that basically allows someone to sell off a portion of a larger lot that's already been platted. So for example, I'm going to go to Miami International Mall because that's probably the easiest way to look at it. Okay, so this mall was platted as one big tract. The property appraiser's office allowed multiple folio numbers because they created a covenant in lieu of unity of title, basically saying the site plan holistically works within this large area. And even though these parcels don't meet zoning standards, they're tied to this overall site plan. So the covenant in lieu of unity of title allows the property owner of an existing platted lot to kind of break up those parcels and sell them privately without having to replat the parcel. So those are kind of I guess the two assemblage scenarios. Now, if you're looking at, let's say, a new application, that's under review, or you're searching the map and you find something, again, assemblage, the term assemblage could mean a lot of different things, but let me give you another example here. I think it's this parcel here. I mean, is this the, yeah, this is it here. Okay, so there's a 2020 application coming in here. This is they're going in for a rezoning to single family. You see that the parcel is highlighted here. We know, just because we're intimate with this, that it also includes this parcel as well. But let's say somebody gives you a folio and say, hey, I'm looking at this parcel. You click on that zoning hearing. It's going to take you to our viewer. I'm going to go into attachments. And in the attachments, there's always going to be a GIS sketch. So if you want to know all the relevant parcels that are subject to this application, now we know. So again, is this an assemblage? Yeah, it's two parcels that are under this one zoning application. Again, this is very early on in a process, but each zoning application, whether in the past or current, approved or not, will have this map, this GIS map, which shows you really what I guess the theoretical assemblage is for this individual zoning application. Again, things get broken up afterwards, just through the course of regular development process, but this is a good indicator of the limits of a project.
That was an answer. I mean, you gave every scenario, which we appreciate, because it's not, these aren't simple, like, oh, just do this. There's different scenarios, so we appreciate that. This is a perennial question from Carl. We're gonna have to mute you. Susan, I'm trying to mute you. Stay mute. There we go.
I did it.
Thank
It
you.
worked on mine.
I was trying to do it. This is a perennial question from Carlos. So what's your perspective on this? How do you know what can be done in a specific parcel as far as if you have a really specific use, like machinery for sewing, it doesn't necessarily need to be industrial. What is your recommendation is it to call the zoning department to say I have this particular use, does it work here, or is there a better way?
I think, well, I think the first quick off the cuff is to go through this site, and I'm going to show you another tab that I think everybody needs to bookmark. And again, it's our zoning code. It's online. I think that's probably the second best way of looking at it. Right. And then the second step, yes, we can always simply, if it's a simple question, we're going to answer that question. I think if you get a really good, warm, fuzzy feeling that you can do this use there, and a deal is imminent, well, I guess it's not imminent, because before it becomes imminent, you should just ask for a zoning verification letter with that very specific question, and we're going to put it in writing to you, and that's your ticket. And I'm gonna after this, I'm gonna let Amina kind of go through that process a little bit. Not complicated; it can be all done electronically, but that is really your best way of solidifying that interpretation. And again, a lot of this is interpretation. Now, our zoning code is pretty specific with regards to uses. When we talk about industrial, we don't just say warehouse manufacturing. We have a pretty big and exhaustive list of uses. I can tell you, most cases, if it's within a building and it's manufacturing, it's most likely going to be allowed in all industrial areas. And we break down our industrial by IU1, IU2, IU3, and IUC. We have the 4 industrial categories. IU1 is light industrial. Then we get into IU2, which is heavy industrial, which is pretty much 95% all the same uses in the IU1. The IU2 adds like 5 or 6 other uses. And then we have IU3, which is like ultra heavy industrial. So if you see an IU3, you're pretty much doing anything. What I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you where to look in the zoning code, and it's actually pretty easy. But first, what I want to do is take you back to the zoning tab. And
let me get a couple more quick questions in, if that's okay.
Sure.
Where is the this is from President Stephen Riggle. Where is the transit-oriented development zoning information found?
So that's a good question, and we're in the process of really.
President.
Yes, we're in the process of appropriately mapping it. We do have locations for that shown on our website. Let me see. And now I'm almost stumped on that, because we very rarely use that information, since we know where they are. Districts, let's see if we have it here.
We have so many questions. That's why I wanted to try and
no problem. I love this. This is great. So if you go back to our main website, you go under now I lost myself. We're moving too fast. We went to zoning code. You click on zoning code. Again, you have zoning districts. My apologies. There we go. You do have all the different districts and some of the design standards. Again, we don't use this as much. I'll jump quickly back to the industrial. This will take you to the industrial, a little diagram on setbacks. It has some frequently asked questions, and again your zoning standards. It's not the best tool, but on the rapid transit zones, So these show the old maps, and I'm going to go to Dadeland. And it will show you the boundaries of those rapid transit zones. So let me get to another one here. Let's go to Coconut Grove. So there we go. So the everything in red, we have the actual line, and then you have in red, you have the actual developable area. This is and this under development right now. That's under the county's jurisdiction. That takes on zoning and land use under Miami-Dade County. So that you can search for some of them. We have some more recent rapid transit zones which aren't here. Oh, let me get back. If there's a rapid transit zone that happens to be in what we call an urban center, you can disregard the rapid transit zone. The urban center regulations supersede the rapid transit zone because they basically incorporate it. So again, another example here, Martin Luther King Station, which is shown in a rapid transit zone. If you go to the zoning map, you're going to see that this actual parcel is in the urban center. So Martin Luther King, Brownsville, North Side, don't think of those as rapid transit centers. The zoning is the urban center. Now, some of our most recent urban center rapid transit zones are the Brickell area, the Government Center, Overtown. We have some of those mapped out as zoning applications. So we do have that tab, and let me pull that up. Again, it's not the most complete, which is why I didn't really get into it too much, but this is showing you some of the more current ones. So this is actually accurate. So we've got, this is the intermodal, this is all aboard. We've got Government Center. Again, a lot of it shows simply just the lines. And this will grow, and we're gonna have a more, I guess, a more accurate map. There are some parcels in Brickell, which are not shown here, that are part of it. But it's always a good question to ask. Again, most of the, if you don't know you're in a rapid transit zone, you're probably not in it. And most of the policy decisions about rapid transit zones are expansions of rapid transit zones. So we're seeing legislative items to expand. So if, for example, I'll go to the zoning records here. These parcels were recently brought into the Brickell rapid transit zone. So if a client is within proximity of any of our rapid transit zones, whether they're in a city or not, there's a legislative process for them to come into that. Again, that's a whole other discussion. But if you're looking at a parcel, you're in the city, you're near transit, speak to us, because there is that opportunity to come in. Again, it's complex, it's legislative, it's political, but there's that possibility.
The next question is from Ricardo DuPont, which has to do with some recent zoning changes in the Wynwood Norte area. I'm sure Danny Zalonker could probably answer this as well, because that's an area for him. Where would you find the most recent information on any changes or any hearings or updates on that? Do you know the answer to that, Nathan?
That's going to be, Wynwood is completely within the city of Miami. What I can tell you is that with the transit or the train going through there and a potential station, there's the potential of the creation of a rapid transit zone. In that case, those zoning applications, the legislative item won't be seen here, but when it goes in for the zoning, because it'll go through, with rapid transit, it goes through a legislative, which then takes over, gives the county the jurisdiction, then it goes through a zoning, which then applies the appropriate zoning to the property. That becomes an application. So that would have to be searched on this website. So if you're looking at, again, a particular parcel, you put your folio in there and you'll see if there's anything here. As of now, we don't have any applications in the county for Wynwood.
This is a question, which is, does Miami-Dade zoning always take, this is from Ed Bowen, CCIM Ed Bowen. Does Miami-Dade zoning always take precedent where there are conflicts with municipalities?
So there should never be, other than the rapid transit zone, there should never be a conflict, because we don't zone property within incorporated areas. We do show land use, but that's really more for our counterparts in planning, for kind of long-term planning decisions. So if a parcel is holistically within a city, they're making their land use and zoning decisions completely isolated from us. Now, if it's in a rapid transit zone, then that's different. If once you're in a rapid transit, then the decision making becomes with the county. I can tell you that there potentially could be there's been some sunshine meetings recently, and there could be some legislation that expands our rapid transit zones in certain areas. So I would look kind of out for that in the next, within the next couple of years. I think some of the policies that we're seeing from the county are to really intensify the corridors to promote transit, but no, we don't conflict with parcels that are in incorporated areas.
This is one of the last questions for now, and then I'll let you continue, Nathan. Thank you for taking the questions. This one is to more than one person. Jose has this question, and Julio have questions about rezoning and what your suggestion is if somebody is trying to, what the process is to rezone. That's a pretty big question. I mean, obviously it could be getting an attorney, or it could be, depending on the scope of the project, asking the county or the city to rezone it. But just, I guess that's kind of a general question, but a question on rezoning and requests for rezoning.
So that's going to be with my office. Applications can be submitted online. We have, again, and maybe I'm going to let Amina answer some of that after we talk about the zoning clarifications.
There's a lot of questions on that. So. You're going to give that to Amina, right?
Because that's the difficult stuff.
Yes, exactly. I wasn't going to say it that way, but.
So everything can be submitted online. We'll start with that. And we have the same viewer that I've been showing you with all of our records. You can do it through that. And basically, you apply, you register your name. There's documents that you upload, you make your payments. It could be completely done through that. However, rezoning applications, again, it always depends on the context. If you're taking a parcel from a commercial zoning district just to another commercial zoning district, and you have no intent to have a plan, you're just simply rezoning it, it's fairly simplistic. You're submitting your application, you're submitting surveys, it goes through, it's submitted to us, we process that application, we distribute it for reviews. You are tracking it through this site, and eventually what happens is we complete our technical reviews. If there's no issues, we schedule it for a public hearing. It most likely will go to one of our community councils, and that's going to take anywhere from, at the very, very quick end, 3 months to about 6 months. Typically, with most rezonings, we see site plans that are submitted with it. So that takes a little bit longer because we're going through several rounds of technical review. Most of our significant applications are processed with one of the law firms that you currently see in the industry. There is a lot of, there's some, it's technical, it's a highly technical. If the question is, should I rezone or do I need to rezone? We have a process called a pre-application meeting where you could simply submit. It's a very simplistic application. It costs $250 for some simple stuff, $500 for some larger ones. And basically in about a week or 2 weeks, you'll be able to sit down with staff, zoning, public works, water and sewer, environmental, and you can pretty much gain a lot of information about the property. So if you have a parcel and you want to put in XYZ use and you do have a plan and you're just not quite sure, you'll submit for the pre-app. In fact, we mandate this pre-application meeting. Once you have a site plan that you're submitting, you have to first come in for a pre-application because we want to guide you to make sure you're at least on the right track. But I think the first thing to do whenever you're considering a rezoning is go to the Cdnp map as your first step. So if your Cdnp, and I'll just, again, I'm going to pick a random parcel. I'll go to imagery here. If your Cdnp is, in this case here, this is low density residential, and I'll toggle through it to show you that. So your low resident, 2 to 6 units per acre, and you want to rezone to commercial, that's a non-starter because we're not going to recommend approval. We can't recommend approval because your land use is residential. You're talking about now going through a Cdnp amendment, a land use amendment to first amend this map. That's with planning, a lot more costly and a whole different process. So the first test is to see, okay, what is my land use? And if your land use is commercial, business and office, and that's your proposed use, you know you're already on the right track. Again, there's nuance to all of it because you could have a residential land use, but if you're in the smart corridor and you're looking to do commercial, that's a whole different ball game. So again, the context is very, very important. So you want to look at the rapid transit zone, you want to look at your land use, and you do want to reach out to us if you have questions, because again, there's a lot of other policies in the comprehensive plan which guide us in some of the decisions that we make. So irrespective of what your actual land use category is, there may be some other decisions. The same with urban centers. If you're in proximity to an urban center, we may be showing that your land use is residential or industrial, but our policies guide us and tell us we want to expand urban centers to a specific radius. So these are very complex analyses that I always recommend, reaching out to us. Most of the land use attorneys have a very good grasp of this, and they could tell you kind of off the cuff. They can give you the 50,000 foot level. Now, notwithstanding all of this, let's say the comp plan says you're in the smart corridor and you want to go 60 units per acre and mixed use, and staff, and we'll tell you, we're going to support you because you're consistent with all of this. If you're putting in a massive building through a rezoning and you have neighborhood opposition, you can get to that public hearing and that thing gets knocked down. So again, the rezoning portions, I think you want to consult with us, but do your analysis on this map to get an idea, land use attorney on your side, and then of course we jump in to help out.
We went through the questions, at least for now.
Paul, let me jump back to the initial question on the industrial, because
Sure,
I think this can answer maybe a lot of other questions, and it's kind of another way to really drill down, I guess, a little more of a simplistic search. So you have a client that has a particular use in question, and let's say it is an industrial use. You want to find, and he wants to go, well, you can look in the cities, obviously, but if he wants to go, let's say he has a general area, it's an unincorporated Miami-Dade County, so you want to find him an industrial site, you click on zoning, and of course, it's so overwhelming. We see all of this, all these colors, all these different zoning districts. We have a filter. So you click on that filter, and it's very simple. You put IU, okay, good. It's popped up all of my IU. Those are your industrial categories. I'm going to click on IU1. I'm going to put add. I'm going to click on, actually, no, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to click on IU1. I'm going to put apply. I've got all my IU1s. Now I'm going to put IU2. I'm going to put apply. And then I'm going to add criteria. I'm going to put IU3. And it'll just pop up IU3. I'm going to apply. I'm going to add one more. I'm going to put IUC. I'm going to apply it. All right, let me close that. So now all you see is properties that are zoned in one of the industrial categories. What did I do here? So if you pop in the folio number, and let's say it takes you to your parcel, you pop in the folio number, let's say it takes you to this warehouse. You know, okay, it's zoned IU2. The list of permitted uses in the IU2 is searched by, and I don't know if you haven't used Municode before, it's probably one of your best tools, and most municipalities have it. I'm gonna start from the simple website. Here, Municode, Miami-Dade. All right. So again, Google Municode Miami-Dade, click your tab. And this is now the entire code of ordinances for the county. You can ignore most of it, go directly to chapter 33, zoning. This is a whole other, I guess, workshop, because there's a little more to it, but chapter 33 is our zoning code. Click on open it up, and again, sign regulations, off-street parking, you can look at a lot of the standards. It outlines it for every type of use. But when you want to know what you can do in the zoning district, again, it's simply scrolling down and you'll start getting into all your districts. You keep on scrolling until you simply see the IUs, IU1, IU2, IU3, IUC. So this one was an IU2, you click on that, and then the first thing that pops up, uses permitted. So you have your list of uses, and this, again, this is your IU2, this is your heavy industrial. It's a small list, but it also allows every use in the IU1. So you go back to the IU1, and this is really a massive, massive list. And you can take a look there to see if your use is there. Now, there's nuance. Certain uses have modifiers. If you're close to residential, if you have outside storage, there's certain setbacks. It's all contained in the chapter. There's asterisks, but again, from a very simplistic, hey, can I do my use? It will be on this list. I hope that answers that.
Yeah, so we don't have any more questions right now. So if there's more stuff that you want to cover or have Amina.
Yeah, I would like Amina, if Amina, can you jump into the zoning verifications, the two type of letters, the expedites when we're not busy, and maybe just a little example of the portal on how they can simply register and how they can submit that pretty easily on the portal. I think that will be helpful. And I'll stop my screen.
Good morning, everyone. Our zoning verification process is relatively simple. I'm going to share my screen and show you what our application looks like and where you can go to submit your request. And of course, if you have difficulty, staff is always available to assist because we know it's sometimes not very easy to navigate. So let's start with, we've seen this screen. This is the portal, but we'll get there in a moment. This is what the zoning verification letter application looks like. And it details the various services that we offer. So we have CDMP future land use designation. This is simply the acknowledging what the land use is on the property. However, if you need an interpretation, you would need to go through the planning division to receive an interpretation. So with this selection, you would only get what the existing land use is. Then the second one is zoning history research. Under that, you would get any copy of resolutions, administrative approvals, covenants, agreements that are for that specific parcel. And there's no details other than verifying the zoning district. So that's a very simplistic, you just want to know what the zoning district is and if anything occurred on this property history-wise. The next one, the special requests, not concerning a specific parcel, I'm going to combine that with our zoning history research and analysis, because in actuality, they're the exact same thing. You're asking us to confirm a use, to confirm a use that you may not see actually in the code, because we have made interpretations over time that additional uses are actually permitted or may not be permitted in the zoning district in which you're looking. So these two, special requests and zoning history research and analysis, are one and the same. You get to ask us questions that we respond to. The Florida Housing Finance Corporation, these are for affordable housing projects. These are often done by developers or their attorneys as they are seeking to get funding from the state. And then we have this verification of pedestrian-oriented development. We have this because this is in the code. However, I've yet to see anyone request this, but it is to understand if your project would meet section 33E8 of being a walkable sort of development. So we haven't gotten into this one yet. And as Nathan said, we do offer an expedite request when time permits. And the expedite request, as you can see, is $946 versus the $473. Expedite generally is a 7-day turnaround. Our normal turnaround is up to 21 days. A lot of times it is faster, and sometimes it's just not as fast as 7 days, but 21 days is generally the max. So the form, it lists the services, the requirements. So if you're going to submit for a special request or history and analysis, we would just need a letter indicating the information that you need us to confirm. The other ones, you would just simply submit this application form, and then I'll go to the next page where you would so this is what the actual form looks like, and it's a fillable form, so you can type in all the information, and you would select expedite here if you're requesting expedite. As of right now, expedite is only available on the zoning history research and analysis and special request. It's not available for a basic zoning history research letter or any of the other options here. It may be in the future though. So this is what the application form looks like. You would just fill it out. And then the last page kind of gives you information on what Nathan went through of how you can find the documents that we would give you on a normal basis. So these are just, this is just a little synopsis of what we've already gone through here. The next thing is where you can submit. So Nathan's shown us this page, and what you would need to do is just create an account with us. And then once you create your account, and this goes across all applications that we accept, you can actually do an estimation of fees that you would like, or for the application, you can pay your invoice that you receive. So everything can be done online, whatever time of day. And once you submit anything to us through this portal, staff then goes through to verify. So if there are questions, we would reach out to you and say, hey, you selected every selection for a zoning verification request. What exactly do you need? Because some of them overlap, and we wouldn't want to charge you for the information that's going to overlap, because the zoning history analysis and special requests, you would get that very basic zoning information. So we would definitely reach out to you for that. So we can, I can show you, I mean, Nathan went through and did a very thorough job of showing us where to, oops, 1, 2, 0, how to find things on the map. You can use this portal as well to look up information. So say you have a client who says, I submitted for this application and you just want to track it. You don't necessarily have to go to the map to track it. You can come here, put in the number, and it will give you a status. So let's see where this one is. And that goes for all applications as well. No, getting a page is not responding. Okay, so here we are. So according to this has gone through all the steps of the workflow, which is the application was accepted, it was paid for, the letter was drafted, the letter was issued, the letter was sent to the applicant, and so it's at 100% completed. So if we go to the attachments, we're gonna see the letter. And in this case, this was something for Florida, the Florida Housing Finance Corporation. So you see here, these are various attachments that were uploaded. Some of these were uploaded by the applicant, like this one, I believe. Right, so this is what they sent to us to ask the question for us to complete their Florida financing request. And then we provided them with a letter, as well as, in that case, it has a form that needs to be filled out. And this is the letter. So all the documents, we upload the letter. What we don't upload, just simply because of space and because the information is in other locations, are the actual resolution numbers, or I'm sorry, the actual resolutions, covenants, or anything like that. We do not upload them into these files. We only upload the letter, because you can theoretically take those numbers for a covenant, for a resolution, and go and look up that information and find the document. But we do send applicants those documents. So you would get a copy of the documents. But if you were just doing some research, you're not going to find those documents here. But as an applicant, you do receive them. So that's pretty much the zoning verification process. We prefer them to be submitted online, but like I said, if there's an issue with the site, because it can be a little difficult to navigate, you know, we're here to help and we can walk you through it. And we also have IT that can assist, but that
Thank you.
pretty
We
much
really
sums that up.
appreciate this is helpful for those who have clients who want to submit, or specific projects that they're tracking. So thank you on that. There are no more questions in the queue, but I would love, except Richard wants to know that he saw some black boundaries that were on the maps. And so he's asking what those represent. So maybe you could answer that question. And I don't think they were the Everglades, but so maybe you could answer that. And then any other parting thoughts, and if anyone else has any questions. Somebody did ask if there's any of this information is in other languages like Spanish. And so I thought I wanted to follow up on if there's any other resources, Spanish or Creole or anything, but I'll let you answer those two questions, Nathan. You're still on mute somehow.
There we go. Let me see if I can share my screen again. There we go. So I'll go back to the map.
But on the multiple languages, this is just, all this information is just in English right now?
We have it in English. That's
Okay.
correct. That's correct. So let's see if we can, okay, there's the black line. So that is the Miami-Dade County version of the wall. No, it is, it's the UDB. That's the urban development boundary. So anything outside of that, you're going to have, you know, there's the very limited ability to develop significant commercial and or industrial, even lower density residential. So everything outside of the UDB is pretty much limited to open land. We do have some areas where you can do some 5-acre single family. But for example, if you wanted to rezone a property to commercial, it's nearly impossible. And since it is impossible unless you expand the urban development boundary. Of course, you know, there's every couple of years, there's a push to expand a certain area. In fact, we have an application now. Actually, you know what? This is a piece of information I think that you'll all be interested in. It's all public record. So this is our most recent application in to expand the urban development boundary, and it's located north of the Homestead Airport, just south of the Turnpike. It's the area around 112th and what is this, 268th Street. It's about 800 acres. This application has been submitted for a comprehensive plan amendment, which is the UDB, and for some zoning. It is pretty much this 800 acres they're looking to do industrial. That is hugely significant. And again, you can search. I'm not sure if we've accepted yet let me just see here. Yeah, so I'll take that imagery off, it's no good. All the applications you'll see in this area, again, they're the most recent ones. So the Z2021, those are all the zoning applications, but this area here is you know, one of our first that we've seen outside the UDB in a long time. So in order to develop outside, usually it's a comprehensive plan amendment first, and the zoning, we now do them concurrently. And that's another thing we do. You can process a land use amendment and zoning application. There's a fee for it, but you can do it concurrently, which is something new. So yes, that dashed boundary is the urban development boundary. There was another question.
No, the other one was about the languages.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, at this time, I mean, are any of our zoning applications in another language?
No, all of our applications are in English.
Something else that's coming out at the end of the month, which again, there'll be another viewer similar to this, even more simplistic, is a way to get electronic notification for public hearings. So it's similar to this. You can put in an address and you'll get a point. And then with that point, you create your own radius, whether you want a 2-mile radius, a 5-mile radius, a 10-mile, whatever radius that you're looking for. And within that radius, it's going to pop up all the active zoning applications. So you'll see this same type of map, but it's going to eliminate everything that's been approved. You'll only see active within the radius. And you can click on that application. And of course, you can research it in the same way you research here. But the other thing you can do is you can subscribe to get updates on that application. So when that application is getting ready to go to a public hearing, you'll know when it will be held, where it will be held, and you'll kind of get these, you know, intermittent updates, and you'll be able to follow it. You don't have to worry about the different stages of it. You'll just get either a text notification or an email, whatever you're choosing, even a call. You'll get your choice. And you'll get these. That's coming up at the end of the month. Now, those are only for applications that are going for a public hearing. If it doesn't track building permits, it doesn't track administrative plans that are submitted, it's only for public hearings. So if you're interested in following this, when that new viewer comes out, maybe Paul, we can do a smaller session. I can introduce you to that. when that goes live at the end of the month, you plug in all those. There's 5 different zoning applications. You plug in those 5 zoning applications, and then now you're tracking it and you can follow it. So that's just another tool. And I wanted to share one more tool with everybody here.
And then also the whole issue of rezoning. There were so many questions on that. And so I think it's something maybe we could combine in the next session.
Sure.
We go over
Happy
some
to.
of those. We can think
Happy
it
to.
through and maybe do a quick outline, because there's so much interest in that, and it's maybe demystifying that process. Though there's no single answer. I mean, it's complicated because it depends on.
And maybe what we do, and we can talk offline, is maybe there's like a quarterly, and whatever the discipline is, but like we can get our technical people in that can really walk you through like simply just how to submit. I mean, we're going through it at a pretty quickly, but how to submit these applications. We've got so many incentives now for workforce housing, which is a whole other category. I think the smart corridor planning and zoning, again, it lends itself to another discussion, and we can bring in some of our planning experts as well. But just one more thing on this tool. If you click on this aerial viewer, it is exactly what it is. You can go back to 1999 and really, get, all that historical aerial and information, just kind of see how things change. And again, it's just a little bit of a useful tool, but you have that ability. And that's really it. That's really it.
And this is a good time to mention that a lot of these things, just like doing a leasing contract, you should use an attorney. Some of this stuff gets in the weeds, and having a zoning attorney, especially for larger projects, is something to strongly consider. So that's worth mentioning, because these things and they also can help expedite and take some of the liability off of the realtors.
Yeah, we fully agree. Look, the county, it's unusual to have such a massive area that is regulated by one zoning code, which is why we've got so many types of, we've got a huge list of zoning districts, plus you have the urban center districts, the rapid transit zone. It is overtly complex. The unincorporated Miami-Dade County is, well over 1 million people. I mean, the geographic area is tremendous. So don't try to memorize or fully understand every facet of it. I think if you can do this simplistic analysis, you're going to get, again, that 85%, and it's that 15% of the unknown, or I would call them modifiers. The smart corridor planning, parking standards, environmental. There's a lot of different environmental issues where, like in the city of Miami, it's a lot more straightforward. It's a smaller area. It's one code. You don't have the same environmental impacts as certain or obstacles as certain areas. So again, we try to be as comprehensive when we give an answer, but there's just certain things that we can't necessarily answer in a very quick question. So, we'll explain your zoning. We'll talk about your land use. We'll get into, your parking requirements, whether you can vary, whether there's any, not warrants as in City of Miami, but opportunity for administrative adjustments. But sometimes underlying all of this, there may be some type of natural forest community that inhibits you from doing anything at all. So notwithstanding, your appeared right to do something on the property, there may be some other things. So again, the zoning verification letter, and plus again, the pre-application process, where if you simply want to get a little more information holistically, you submit this pre-application, and you're going to get not only all the zoning information, but whether you need to put in roadways, whether you need to plat, if there's water and sewer connections, fire issues, and of course, environmental, which is DERM. We also can do that in municipalities. So if you're in a municipal area and you know everything about the zoning for that, but you're not sure about maybe environmental, which is always regulated by the county, you can also submit through our same portal. It's called a municipal pre-app, and we're going to opine even though we won't talk about the zoning, we'll opine on anything that's county related. Again, we could, that's a whole other session,
No, I
but
know
there's a lot of tools. There's a lot of tools that we have to help you.
Yeah.
And
There's
again,
a
our
million
motivation,
topics.
our
There's brownfields. We would love to do more on, we'll get
Yeah.
back with you on affordable housing and LIHTC. I mean, affordable housing is really important for this whole region. So we'll connect with you.
And just one final note, don't think you're bothering us. Anything, we're happy to help. And, I represent just one small component of the Regulatory and Economic Resource Department, which is the umbrella. And that has building department, DERM, the environmental planning, zoning, code compliance. And, our philosophy, and we maintain this and we're strong on it, we want to help, we're customer service. We don't want to be a government bureaucracy. Our idea is to help facilitate rather than regulate. Sometimes we have to say no, but we want to tell you no, like as quickly as possible, so you're not wasting your time. So again, for
Awesome.
all of us in RER, our goal is to help and facilitate.
We'll include
never feel shy.
To everyone. So thank you again. This was really long, but there was a lot of content, and I'm sure there were some things everyone learned. I know I learned a lot today. We will follow up with them, and when I email everybody, you're welcome to send any other ideas or comments. I know the rezoning is another topic that we want to explore some more. So thank you again. This is part of our bookmark series. So this gives you an idea of the great, how in-depth we're going to get on some of these websites. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you so much, Amina. Thank you everyone for attending. I will follow up with you within 24 hours. It was a long session, so it's going to take me some editing, but thank you again. I'll see you hopefully this afternoon or at some other classes. You can always go to our calendar and search commercial in the search area on the online calendar. Thank you again, everyone. Have a great holiday weekend, Passover, and also thank you so much. Have a great Easter as well. Thank you.